Delighted that you're here. Would ask that you will stand and join Representative Beshears in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, and good afternoon. I'm Bill Montford. I have the privilege of being your state senator, and Representative Beshears and I will talk to you. I believe it's the sixth or seventh time we've been here, and it just gets better. So again, we appreciate you being here, and just want to thank you for the honor again of serving you as your state senator. Also, I want to thank you for electing Halsey Beshears because he's a good guy, and we work together very, very well, and you couldn't find a better person to represent you in Tallahassee than Halsey Beshears. We work together really, really well, and we say sometimes people think we're brothers. We work together like brothers. And so sometimes we may disagree, but we still got each other's back, and that's what's important because we truly believe that we serve the best part of Florida right here. Also want to thank Marcia Mathis, of course, was made. Everybody knows Marcia. But the sad thing is, and this is the first time we said it publicly, Marcia will be leaving us. She's got a wonderful, wonderful new position, an executive director of a children's organization, and so she'll be leaving us. Marcia, I can't tell you. I've been delaying announcing this is our third one. I kept thinking maybe she'll change her mind, but she won't. So Marcia has done an outstanding job, not only for me, but for the citizens in Senate District 3. Everywhere I go, I hear good things about Marcia. And in fact, some people have started calling her senator. She's really the one that does the work.
That's why I'm leaving.
Marcia, you want to give you a chance to say goodbye here to your people.
You're gonna make me cry. Well, Franklin County is just an awesome county. I've enjoyed it so much, and of course, working for this man has been a wonderful opportunity. People often ask me, "Is Senator Montford really that nice of a guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he really is all the time." But thank you all for the support and for being there. And I'll still be in the community because I'm going to be helping children in 10 of his 18 counties, and so Franklin is one of those. So I'll still be around, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Okay, Representative Beshears.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to tell you to echo his words. It is a privilege and it's an honor to represent Franklin County. This is our 6th delegation meeting, and I think I counted this up here a while ago. It was we've done 60 meetings together, Senator Montford and I. And the one thing I'd like you to know, it doesn't matter about the political party. It matters you do what's right for your district and for the county. And it's still amazing to me that we have colleagues, the infighting that happens in delegation. Dade County, for example, has 22 members, and they can't get along with each other. They forget how they got there and why they're there. It's always important to remember that, hey, it's the people that put you there and that's what you're there to take care of. So it's a privilege working with Senator Montford. I enjoy it. He's a good man. He does a good job for us. So we're proud to be here. I'm proud to be here going into my 3rd term. It's hard to believe we're coming into our 6th session now. So anyway, you didn't come here to listen to us. We're here to listen to you. I always think about the good things that come out of this. We take our notes. I was going through our notes from last year. Look at some of the stuff we get accomplished, some of the stuff we're still working on. But anyway, thank y'all for being here tonight, and looking forward to hearing from everybody.
Thank you, Representative Beshears.
My age. Every time. Vicki Summerhill, if y'all know Vicki, she's the woman from the big guy. She's not leaving, y'all. But she does deserve a hand. And Chris Gingrey. Chris joined our team last year. He's from Tallahassee. Chris is not always like this, so I'm going to just tell you. But Franklin County is always nice to us, that's for sure. But anyway, we're glad to be here. Glad to see everybody tonight.
Thank you, Halsey. All right, got a couple of announcements. The 2018 legislative session begins January 9th. It's early this year. And anyone that'd like to speak tonight, would love to hear from him. And we ask that you fill out a blue card. And if you'll see Marcia up here, she'll make sure it gets up here to us. We only have 3 cards tonight, but that's in addition to other constitutional officers that will be heard and others. But what we'd actually do, if you've got, if you got a reason you need to go home for baby, grandbaby, parent, or something, you got to take care of a business, if you'll just sort of slip up here and tell one of our aides here, we'll get you up quick. Okay, with that being said, Cheryl Sanders is here. Cheryl, we're going to ask that you welcome us. Smokey, I believe, is here and is not here tonight. He's out of town, but Cheryl, I know you want to welcome us to your wonderful county.
Senator Montford, Representative Halsey Beshears, thank you for coming to Franklin County and listening to the issues and concerns of the people. And this is coming November. This will be my 20th time welcoming you. So, like Miss Marcia, we're one of the old timers around here. Still love it. Still love it. We still got a beautiful county. But now, can we go ahead and tell what the issues are that I want to talk to you about?
Well, you can.
Would you like to hear?
Go right ahead, and then
I got a list.
But you can't leave when you get through there. You got to stay with the whole meeting.
She always does.
I got other things to do. And Vicki, I've got to tell you, Representative Beshears, Vicki Summerhill is a godsend. I'm telling you. Vicki, you know you're close to me. You know you're close to me. We've worked on many things in the legislature because of her, Miss Marcia and y'all, and we've walked in halls many a day. And things are changing. It's not the same place where we used to know. And that's the bad thing. But we're all going to get through it. We're going to get through it. You know, it's like my husband said the weekend. Don't get, some people, you can't put a dollar between them because greed takes them over. So just remember that. So anyway, the one issue that's important to the county commission, which all the issues are important, but we've got a problem. In the past few years, we've been able to get a historical grant from the state for the armory. As you all know, the National Guard Armory over there has been designated, the Board of County Commissioners designated as our convention center for Franklin County. And we are having a hard time getting grants for the sprinkler system over there at the armory. And if we don't have some intervention at the state level with the state fire marshal, we may lose the ability to rent the armory out or use the armory. And so that's something that if y'all can get on top of it, we sure would appreciate it. The other thing is, back in 2010, we had the oil spill with BP. I don't think it'll ever be the same after that. I don't think 5 states will be the same. As you all know, Triumph is coming on board. The legislature is involved in it, and then you've got the counties with their restore funds too. Consortium pot and county pot and state pot and all these other little pots. Be very careful to where the agencies do not shift the cost to the counties just because they will have the ability of having access to restore funds or BP funds. Does that make sense? I'm concerned with one particular thing right now, and that is Department of Ag and the shelling in the Apalachicola Bay. I'm going to come out and tell you. I'm concerned about that. So if we can do something about that, I just want to bring that to your attention. And the other thing is the Gulf Consortium met this last week. As you all know, I represent Franklin County, and I'm one of the 23, or Franklin County is one of the 23 counties in this consortium. We will have the draft state expenditure plan ready for review, a draft, in November at the legislative meeting down on Sarasota. so let y'all be aware of that, so y'all can see what's coming on for your district, and that's all the counties in y'all's districts too. But that's the 3 items I have. Now, I have, Commissioner Ricky Jones. Are you there? Do you want to come up here and say something to him while I'm here? Okay. I'm not used to that. But have y'all got any questions for me on any of the things that I brought up?
Cheryl, I don't think so. We agree with your concern about supplanting dollars. We don't want the state to say, you don't need transportation dollars because you got all this other money.
Right, right.
That's not the way it works. Representative Beshears and I have made that argument over and over and over. And I believe that we've been assured, whatever that's worth, that won't happen. But it will pay us to keep real close tabs on it and make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, my views, and I'm gonna go to the restore stuff and the funds. My views is this, the Apalachicola Bay is not a Franklin County resource, it is a state resource. Therefore, if any activities need to go on in the Apalachicola Bay, I don't mind having a partnership with them, but Franklin County does not need to carry the whole full burden of anything that we do or have done out there in that. If it is, then go to the thinking that if we're going to be able to do that and have it called a Franklin County resource with Franklin County money, then guess what? Franklin County people, you can't do that. That's not right. That's a state resource. But anyway, this is the 3 things that I can think of right off the top of my head, and I can also.
Island View.
Oh yeah, Island View. Thank you, Alan, for reminding me. I knew there was something. See, this comes from 19 years of sitting here. But no, I'm teasing. The county was able to get Trust for Public Lands to purchase the Island View property out there east of Kirvin, and it's going to be called Island View Park because it is a island view of Dog Island, so that just stands to reason. But one of the initial things that we've got going on is that is such a bad place for traffic accidents. We've had a lot of deaths in there in the past few years of people not making that curve and going out there and killing themselves, in the vehicles and stuff. And so we have a proposal on the table that would bring DOT to the table if we could have some help with them to straighten and to move that part of 98 up to where it's straighter and out of those curves. Alan Pierce and Michael Morone, our county manager or county assistant, he has all the information that you need. But this is something that we can work with a private-public partnership there with that, since we do own the land north of 98 also, and then above that is St. Joe land, but it's got to get DOT in there to say, okay, we can do it like that. And what that is, that's just to straighten that curve, those 2 curves out. There's about 3 or 4 curves in there to keep it from being such a bad place.
Okay, so DOT, St. Joe Company in agreement with the county has agreed to give us the land for the new right-of-way if we get DOT in there to build the road. So we have free land to straighten, as you said, straighten out a curve. There's already had a fatality in the last 2 years. It's a dangerous area, the most dangerous curve in the county, and so we just need DOT assistance. And we haven't talked to DOT, so I don't want to pretend like they've resisted. We just wanted you all to get a little encouragement to come down here and let's work on that curve.
Good.
And also, one more thing, you all would be very proud of Franklin County. This past year, we initiated the 6 cent on the gas tax. Now we are eligible for scrap. So y'all make sure that we're good with scrap, Scott, and County Incentive Grant Program.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We appreciate you. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to go now to the public, and we're going first. We're on the list. We've got Marcia Lindeman and Sarah. Come on down. Well, but you going to introduce them,
I
right?
am, I'm really just introduce myself. Sarah's actually passing out the annual report that the two county health departments just published and shared with our county commissions this month. And this evening, we just want to just speak just very briefly about two of the items on this report. Of course, we'd love to spend more time with you if you're interested in talking about any of it, not completely eagerly probably, but we're proud of the work that these two small county health departments have done this past year. We've combined our resources together. We think we're just maximum impact that two small counties could have, and we're real proud of the work that we've been doing. The Department of Health has sort of three strategic priorities: healthy moms and babies, long healthy lives, and preparedness for emerging threats. And so those sort of priorities sort of guide what we work on. And so I want to present just a couple things this evening that we've done. I'd like to introduce Sarah Hines, our Assistant Director for Gulf and Franklin, and then also Helen Cook, who is our Director of Nursing, and also the only provider, she's a nurse practitioner provider for the clinics in Gulf and Franklin County as well. So, ladies.
Hello, good evening. Like she said, I'm Sarah Hines. I'm the Assistant Director for the Florida Department of Health in Franklin and in Gulf counties. And she mentioned three topics. At this meeting, we're going to talk about healthy moms and babies and long, healthy lives. All right, so at the health department, we care about the health of all residents in the community. And we want everyone to attain the highest level of health. So that's from every age to every stage. So I started using this analogy of a timeline. So before a person's born, and then all the way through their retirement years, public health employees are there along the way. We're tracking milestones and we're implementing programs through a person's lifetime because we know that healthy pregnant moms have healthy babies, which grow into healthy children, which then develop into healthy adults, and that helps create healthier communities. And so that's the cycle that we want and we hope for in these counties. There are two programs that I'd like to promote today that are making healthy changes on that timeline. These are Healthy Families and the School Health Program. Our Healthy Families program covers Franklin, Gulf, and Wakulla counties. Healthy Families focuses on providing positive parenting education and resource referrals to families. A child's brain is there's still a lot of growing to do in those crucial first early years. And what children learn through their early interactions with their parents and their caregivers becomes the foundation of all future development. So research shows that nurturing relationships in safe, secure environments improves brain development and overall the well-being of that child. So that's where Healthy Families comes in. This is an evidence-based program that goes into the homes of families who need it the most. They work with families who are really going through some stressful life situations, and Healthy Families becomes that support. That parenting coach is what we like to call them. Parenting coaches use curriculum called Growing Great Kids, and they teach families positive parenting approaches. And the best part, in my opinion, about this program is that the families can stay connected to their Healthy Families positive parenting coach until the child reaches up to age 5. So let's talk about the outcomes. You'll see on your report, we have many successful programs. We're just here to talk about 2 today. But under where it starts with keeping people healthy at home, these are the outcomes of Healthy Families, a few of the successes. When it comes to the families served, there were 66 total in Gulf and Franklin, with 1,132 home visits made by the parenting coaches. And when it comes to providing immunizations, Healthy Family staff made sure 100% of the enrolled children were up to date on their vaccines at that 2-year milestone marker. For access to care, 98% of the children enrolled 6 months or longer are linked to a medical provider. So again, ensuring access to medical care. And safety. So very stressful life situations can put babies and children at risk for not reaching those developmental milestones, and in some cases, it can increase the chances of abuse and neglect. The families involved in this program are seeing just the opposite. In fact, 99% of the families who are actively participating in the program were free from verified abuse and neglect. And this is a report that we get from the Department of Children and Families. It's a very successful program. Now Helen's going to talk about school health.
Hi, I'm Helen Cook. I'm the nurse practitioner and the nursing director for Franklin and Gulf County, actually. And I want to tell you a little bit about one of the programs we have in the health department is the school health program. We reach into the school health through school health nurses. It's not the same school health nurse you're thinking about. When I was a little girl, I don't remember having a school health nurse. And when my children were growing up, my son's 40 now, the school health nurse came once or twice a year and did eye exams and hearing exams, and that's what they received. About 20 years ago, the state of Florida started providing grants to all the schools, and 67 counties now have grant-funded school health programs in each county. And in our county, we touch 1,300, almost 1,400 kids is what we have, from pre-K all the way up to graduate, 12th grade plus alternative school. We actually have 1,462 students. And out of those students, we're not only doing basic school health screenings like vision, hearing, and those sorts of things. We have put a nurse in each school. And these nurses are providing first aid to these kids. We're providing health education classes. We work collaboratively with the schools. We go to the school board. We work on committees with the school to implement new programs or whatever issues that are going on in the schools. We promote health through health education classes. We had almost 300 students last year that had health issues in the school, like asthma, diabetes, seizures, ADHD, those sorts of things. And without school health program in place, those kids would not get the services and would not be healthy and well and able to learn. And many of these kids, if it wasn't for a school health nurse, they wouldn't have health care. So it's very important, school health is. So that's one of my soapboxes.
May I ask you a couple of questions? Are you talking about Franklin and Gulf?
I'm actually speaking for Franklin County. I'm not over the Gulf County, but I can, Sarah and I both can answer questions for Gulf County.
You have a registered nurse in every school?
I have a registered nurse that is the nursing coordinator over both of my schools. I have a registered nurse and a health support aide in my larger school, and I have an LPN in my ABC in a charter school. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. This may be something to worry about in the future, but I think we may start thinking about it. With the medical marijuana issue, that even though we have approved of the state, it's still in violation of the federal's rules and laws. In statewide, you got to jump on most districts because you have a nurse there already. Most school districts don't have that luxury. We're looking down the road in terms of how do you deal with that? If you have a student or a teacher that has been prescribed, well, we don't use the word prescribed. What word is it we use? Doctor can't prescribe it, but they can certify, whatever it is.
Recommend.
In other words, they need it, and they've gotten approval. How will you deal with that in schools?
I can tell you what Franklin and Gulf County would do. Marcia's going to interject, but I would call my lawyer. That's over.
Well, you're right, there are still a lot of decisions and collaboration that have to happen between the Department of Health and the Department of Education. But in terms of managing controlled substances in school clinics, that happens today. There are medications that children are on that are in controlled substance classifications, and they're secured and administered and overseen by a physician in school clinics today. So
Right.
that model of controlled substances is there. The decisions about medical marijuana, not there anymore.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the major difference there is that it could be a federal violation if they bring medical marijuana onto a school campus, teacher or student.
That is correct.
So we The answer is, I don't think we worked that out yet.
We have not worked that out at all. We're in a holding pattern from a Department of Health or a school health
Can
standpoint.
I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Tell me, what is Closing the Gap grant that you got, Frank?
Okay, Closing the Gap. The way our program works, it's a grant-funded program through the Office of Minority Health and Health Equity, and we focus on improving chronic disease outcomes with intervention programs, particularly focused on minority populations. What our Closing the Gap program does is we go into faith-based communities. We teach an evidence-based program called Body and Soul, and it's a phenomenal program where they mix wellness and faith so that they can teach people how to live healthy lives within the faith-based community.
Okay, a part of a bill that was passed in legislature last year that's been somewhat controversial, but a piece of it that a lot of us support, and that is a piece about hope schools. And the idea about hope schools is to be able to provide wraparound services for those students. We know students who come to school hungry or in need of medical attention simply can't learn. So, have y'all been working with school districts in that and saying, how do you work with that, and how do we assure that every child, if the resources are there, if we provide the resources, have y'all had discussions, primary and state level, about how you provide those wraparound services? Where does the health department fit in to the formula there?
We have not had those conversations, Senator Montford. You know, we do have collaborative relationships with the FQHCs to provide dental services actually on site in the school campuses in Gulf and Franklin County. And they also provide the primary medical services, not at the school sites though. So that's a conversation that we would be interested in
Good.
having with our superintendent.
Ladies, thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Two questions actually. The Healthy Families program here, how many people are working that program in Gulf and Franklin County?
We have 7 employees.
And it's $400,000 and you administer that to 66 families is what it says, 1,100 visits.
We actually have more families. Those are the families that we acquired during the 16-17 fiscal year.
Do you
Our
think
goal
that's
is-
the most efficient use of those funds? Do you think you're getting the best bang for your buck out of that? That seems that $6,000 a family is what that is. For 66 families you said that you acquired. That's all you're servicing is 66 families?
No, sir. Actually, our grant, we have up to 115 families every year. Our goal is to increase the number of families that we can reach. And so the 66 families are the new families that were established during the 16-17 fiscal year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank y'all, and thank you for what you do. We know you've got a heck of a task. We know that gap, if you will, the number of people needing your services has expanded, and you know, we've got to figure out a way to help you reach those families that don't have the medical attention that they need.
Well, we appreciate your support, and we're also available if you'd like to have any drill down conversations about that, or we'd be happy to have more conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to everybody about flu vaccine.
Amen. Okay, Mary Allen? Ms. Allen? Come on down. Historical preservation. Always good to see you.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell you, thank you once again. I'm Tamara Allen, and I'm here tonight as the president of the Carabel Historical Society and the director of the Carabel History Museum. As you know from our previous talks, we are fortunate to partner with the city to be in the historic old city hall there in Carabel and it's a fabulous place for a museum. And in the last 3 years, we've actually had small matching grants to renovate the building. We're winding down on our program, but we've got one that we're about to implement now for phase 4. And that will enable us to renovate the second floor, which will essentially double the size of our potential museum. Last year, what we've accomplished was to put in a life safety code set of excess egress stairs on the back, emergency stairs, but instead of it just being a small little emergency stair or a little winding stairway like you can get a prefab, they actually had to build a metal stairway that met the Secretary of the Department of Interior standards for accessibility. So it's a large, lovely metal structure that will now make it possible for us to make the rest of the building usable and accessible. So we're planning on renovating restrooms and wiring to the second floor this year. And we just wanted to thank you for your continued support. We have already put in our grant to wind it up next year with the trying to get the lift up. We have to get people in wheelchairs and who have other difficulties upstairs. So we're working on getting some of the details finished and also getting a lift. So we've already, we took your advice, Representative Beshears, and we got up in the top 20 of the group that got funded. So hopefully, even with limited funding, we'll get covered in that. But I do want to just continue to appreciate your support, and Vicki and Marcia have both been very, very helpful in helping us through those little lumps and bumps along the way with that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Appreciate it. Okay, next we have Joe Taylor and Eleanor Val Simmons. Come on down.
Thank you so much for letting us come tonight. My name is Joe Taylor, Executive Director for Franklin's Promise Coalition, and we want to talk with you about our Conservation Corps Forgotten Coast. But first I want to introduce a few folks, if that's okay. So I want to acknowledge our board chair, Tamara Allen. So she has 2 hats tonight with you. And so we're grateful for Tamara and the service she's provided to our board. And I want to introduce Ms. Eleanor Simmons. She is our Ed coach, and I'll let her tell you about the Ed Corps. And the rest of our team is here in the room. Y'all supposed to be standing up. Come on. So these young folks, and as well as Jeanette Taylor and Betty Webb. Jeanette is our training coordinator, and Betty Webb is our development.
You said these young folks and Betty Webb.
There you go.
You just said these young folks.
Thanks for getting me in trouble, sir. So we're very proud of them. So a little information is we're on our 2nd year, and this is our 3rd cohort. So far, before these guys, 34 young people have been through the group. 115 industry certifications have been earned, everywhere from herbicide applicators licensing to wildfire training, chainsaw training, certifications for emergency response. We've completed more than 45 conservation and construction projects, and we've responded to 3 disasters as a group. So we're very proud of the work that we've done. We have some exciting new news that I'm going to close the end with for you. But we just wanted to let you know that we're here. Things are moving forward. We have a great group of young folks, and I'm going to let Eleanor tell you about the Egg Corps.
Thank you, Joe.
Eleanor Mount Simmons. As Joe mentioned, our boys and girls receive an abundant number of trainings that can enhance their life and careers. However, if they don't have a diploma, that's a stopping point right there. So last year we initiated Ed Corps for those boys and girls that are part of Conservation Corps who don't have a diploma, and we give them the services for that. We want to big thank you to Traci Moses and Stacy Kirvin of Franklin County School Board, because we are official part of the Franklin County School family, and with them we get services from them. Currently we have 6 kids involved with Ed Corps, 1 on the waiting list, And the kids are coming to school from 8:30 until 12 o'clock to receive their education's computer-based program. We're very proud of our boys and girls. Many of them are, as you know, everyone can't go to traditional K through 12 school and go right on through. Life sometimes gets in the way, and they have obstacles that prevent them from following the traditional format. So we have a program like Ed Core that's a little different, but the main goal is a diploma, and they work hard to get their diploma. And we're very proud of our boys and girls back there who are part of the Ed Core aspect. They're working hard to get their credits to earn the diploma and go and have a great life. So we work really hard there, and we invite you guys to come out anytime. We're the old high school, the Mayor Van Johnson complex, and it's where Ed Core building is, classroom is. So you can come out anytime and watch our boys and girls who are hard at work. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Simmons. Appreciate it. Joe?
So that brings us to, you are the first for us to tell this publicly, but we found out last week that we will be included in the NOAA Gulf Corps project, which is basically one of the first rounds of Pot 2 Restore funding. And so our Corps has been selected to represent Florida. So 10 young people will do 22 weeks of service with the ANER, Apalachicola National Estuary Research Reserve. And most likely we'll be doing living shoreline work, but we could be doing some additional hydraulic restoration and some burn preparation work with the St. Joe Buffer Preserve. So we're really excited about that. So it's actually beginning to see some of those things trickle down, and they'll be affecting young people right here in your community.
Congratulations. Great.
Thank you all for the support.
You know, what Joey for the help and Ms. Matt Simmons, maybe sometime you could send us some success stories about your graduates. Because we've been hearing good things, so from you, it'd be good for us to be able to say, let me tell you about
success stories that we don't mind telling you about.
I think it'd be good to hear those.
We'll get them documented and we'll bring them to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, no more blue cards, so now we go to our Constitutional Officer, Sheriff, A.J. Smith. Sheriff. All right, well, he's coming. Marcia Johnson, where's Marcia? There you are.
Good evening, good to see you again so quickly. You know, you mentioned Miami-Dade earlier, so I just want to say that I really appreciate both of you and your staff. I doubt very seriously that you have informal conversations like we do at our delegations down in Miami-Dade. So I think it's nice that we all know each other, and it just helps our whole process. I'm going to keep it short since I know you've got to get to Gulf County. Main thing I want to just bring up is that clerks need to be adequately funded. And I'm really appreciative of what y'all have done for us these last years, but we need to find a long-term, sustainable funding source that will help us all. And I just want to point out a couple of things. Statewide, the clerk's approved budgets for 2017-18 is $409 million, a little over that. Approximately, that is $52 million below what we say are our clerks' need-based budget submissions from clerks. It's also a reduction of $12.6 million, or 3% from last year's budget. And it's been reduced approximately $63 million over the last 5 years. Locally, my court budget going into October 1st, and all the clerks, we've all been cut 2.9% going into October 1st, even with the help we got from you. Locally, my budget's been cut $18,000. But it's a difference of $42,300 from what my needs budget is. And I just wanted to remember that that cut will even be deeper for clerks, because unlike others, we have to absorb the rising cost of retirement and insurance benefits, where all the other state and our judicial partners, they're allowed to increase due to those costs, but clerks have not been. So for all these years, we've been absorbing those costs each year. And it just, we're at the point now where services are going to be lost if we got to find a way. And we're willing to give y'all whatever information and data we need. to get us to where we need to be. I just want y'all to remember that your clerk's office touches the lives of our citizens every day. I mean, you know, we speak to the people. We're the people that come to us on their most confidential, private things every day. You know, the mother that son's been arrested, or the parent that's kids on drugs and, you know, has been sent off for Baker Acts, and just, you know, we touch lives every day in the clerk's office, and we cannot afford to keep reducing staff because the people need us. I just want you to know that we recognize your budget, and this year is going to be limited, and the impacts of Hurricane Irma are going to be felt by you, and it's going to be some hard decisions you're going to have to make because of that, I'm sure, going into this year. But clerks pledge to continue to provide relevant data on current needs to demonstrate accountability, and we're willing to work with you and give you whatever you need. And our clerk's legislative agenda is going to be finalized in the next few weeks, and I'll certainly stay in touch with both of you and your staff. And Marcia, we're going to really miss you, and hope I'll see you in your new role, and be glad to help you, and Vicki and Chris. You know, anything I can ever do in the clerk's office to help any of you and the senator and representative, we're always there for you. So thank y'all so much for coming today and listening, and I'm just going to stay in touch with you on the budget.
Please do, and thank you for the job you do down here.
Thank you.
We do have one more blue card here. Bert Bolt. Bert, we apologize, I overlooked your card here.
Thank you. Hey, good evening. I'm Bert Bolt, and I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. I have a full-time residence at Alligator Point, and I have been particularly impressed over the time of the need, and I'm appealing to you, Senator Montford, for your background in education, for the need for a class that I took when I was a freshman in college because I couldn't get into any other school. That class was called How to Study. And I have a real interest in the fact that I think much of the problem we have here in Franklin County and statewide is that fundamental need to reset the button on the specifics about how to study. That the course not be called anything else but that, not life skills or college success or high school success, but specifically how do you make a flashcard? How do you underline a key paragraph in a book? How do you do margin note writing on the side of a book? How do you take notes in class? How do you set up a study desk at home? And I'm believing that that fundamental course, if it was offered in the curriculum in the entire state of Florida at a certain point in the school system, would be, I believe, an excellent reset button for the basics for success in the future on all these specific scholastic tests. So I just wanted to reach out and say hello to you and welcome the opportunity to talk about it more here on behalf of Franklin County, which I think has a baseline need for that, and perhaps it could be expanded in the entire state of Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Bolt. If I may take just a moment
Yes,
to share with you a predicament we're in, quite frankly. And by the way, I agree with you. I've got 5 grandchildren, my only granddaughter. She needs to learn how to study. And I mean, if nothing else, get her away from a 4-year-old brother. Nobody can study from a 4-year-old. And so, but it goes much deeper than that. But here's the predicament we're in. We go to school 180 days a year. And by the way, we're the only country in the world that goes to school that few days. Everybody else goes 200, 220. And then we compare our country with other countries. So that's a problem. The other problem is we have basically, say, 7 hours a day. And what we have, when you and I went to school, we may even have the luxury of a study hall. Those don't exist anymore. And so you've got 7 hours a day, and every one of those 7 hours, there's some kind of requirement there, except for electives. And I don't want to bore y'all, but I think it would be good for us to know this. And so you've got your basic classes that you have to have. And then, for the sake of argument, may have 1 or 2 hours for electives, which are still required. And so, bottom line is, the simple thing is, if we were to add a class, for example, we've got a bill coming this year that passed the Senate last year, and it was called Financial Literacy Course. Everybody, we used to teach that. We don't do that anymore. Young people now don't know how to do a check. They've got a card. But the problem with that is, if we add a course, financial literacy, how to study, whatever that course is, something's got to fall out. I mean, we're not going to extend the day because it would cost hundreds of millions of dollars to extend the day 1 hour. Can't do that. So if we want to add something, we've got to take something out. If you go back 25 years ago in high school, basically you had to have 4 years of physical education to graduate. Then we started adding other requirements. So what happened was, rather than 4 years, we said, well, you only need 3 years of PE. And then it was 2 years. And then it was 1 year. And one semester of that 1 year could be marching band or football or whatever. And then when people got all up in arms 10 years ago about all of our students not taking PE and we're overweight and so on and so forth. And so the Governor Chris appointed called the Governor's Council on Physical Fitness. And I was appointed to that, and that made a lot of jokes in the newspaper. But the issue was the same. We want to add more PE. Well, if we add another year of PE, something's got to fall out. And quite frankly, what that is either art or music, because those are basically 2 electives. So if you add another course, something's got to fall out. I agree with you. But what we have to do is, if we add this, then what will fall out? Same thing this year, we passed a law that required 20 minutes of recess for all students, basically elementary. And that's good. They all need that. We know, the teachers will tell you, that if you give those kids 20 minutes while they blow off steam, they behave a lot better. Right? We all know that. And that was fine, but where does that 20 minutes come from? You can't take it from lunch because they only have 20 minutes for lunch. So where do you take that 20 minutes? And unfortunately, for those in school districts, we don't make that decision. We just say you got to do it. Now then the school district has to decide where to go. I support this. I think it's great. This is a tremendous need, not only for those students in school, but especially those who go on to extend their education, or if they go in the workforce. Because we know now that the graduates of our high schools go directly into the workforce. I forgot the reading level of manuals now is like second year of college for a job that does not require a college degree. So how to study could be a manual or whatever, desperately needed. So I agree with you totally. I made a note here. We'll follow up with you.
Look forward to working with you too. Anyway, I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for your interest in education. Okay, the sheriff back in. Sheriff A.J. Smith, come on back.
Good evening. Thank y'all for being here. And first, thank you for all the support that you give to Franklin County. I know that anytime I call on you, you're quick to answer the phone, and I appreciate that. One of the things that is, we had our legislative conference, the sheriff's did. I don't know if you've heard yet from Steve Casey or anything, but texting and driving is going to be one of our legislative priorities. Y'all probably been hearing a lot about it. And I think we are, in Franklin County, our roads are much more susceptible to accidents because of distracted driving. Curvy roads, dark roads, bridges. So I hope that you will support us as we push this during the legislative session, because it will save lives. And I think it's very important, because every day I pass people who are looking down at their phone and they're not looking at the road. So that's probably the biggest thing that's going to impact Franklin County from a legislative priority for law enforcement. But one of the other things that we discussed at our legislative conference that didn't make it on our agenda, but it is a problem here, is methadone. There's 2 methadone clinics, one in Tallahassee, one in Panama City, and we have a lot of people who go in the early morning hours to these clinics, and they drive back impaired because they're allowed to use methadone. And there's accidents that result from this and other things. So I want to discuss it with you further, maybe in the near future. I don't know if you're aware of this in any other counties, but there are some other counties in Florida that are having a problem with it. And methadone, are you familiar with methadone? It's used to get people off meth, to transition them off of it, but I've spoken to people in our county that have been on it for 10 years. So that's not a good thing. And one of the problems that we have here is the addiction problems we have with meth and prescription pills and things like that. So I think if we can do something with the methadone, then maybe we can save some lives as well and get some people where they are productive parts of the community, because when they're on methadone, they're not. So anyway, any questions for me?
Thanks for the job you do.
Okay, thank y'all.
Superintendent Moses, Traci, come on down.
Good to see you again so quickly. I'm going to give you a handout that I worked with our regional consortium. Thank you so much for supporting the consortiums. They're greatly needed in the small districts. You know, just property casualty and liability insurance alone would eat away our budget. So it's nice to be able to partner with 14 other districts and to pull those resources for staff development and a lot of other things that as a small district we would not be able to do. So I really appreciate you guys supporting that. So I'm going to give you something that we've all worked together on in our 14 school districts. And we've had a hard time with recruitment and retention. I'm sure you've heard that everywhere you've gone. We were actually looking today at long-term substitutes being in classrooms. We have no applicants. An idea that I've got after speaking with some other superintendents is the cost of living in small districts is very high, especially here in Franklin County being a coastal county, and our insurance for families is $800. And that's a lot when you're, a teacher's salary to have to pay $800 a month for insurance. So that's our health insurance. I'd really like for you guys to consider maybe talking later with me and some small school district superintendents. We would really like for our school district employees to be allowed to participate in the state-funded insurance, health insurance. We know that I don't have money like Bay County to give a $10,000 hiring bonus for teachers. But when you're coming out of college and you're young and you're trying to pay bills, or you're a seasoned teacher and you have a family to support and you're paying between $800 and $1,200 a month in just health insurance, and my husband was a correctional officer and had family coverage for $180. That was a great benefit for us and a reason to incentivize him to stay in that field. So just something to help our teachers to come to our areas. So I just wanted to give you an update on Franklin County. We have 5 schools. People often will kind of look at me funny when I say that we have our K-12 consolidated school, and then we have our alternative campus that we're servicing students that need a smaller environment and, just a different educational opportunity. And then we also have our adult education program, which we're pretty successful. We've got a day and nighttime class. And I'm hoping to add some ELL to that because we have a high population of English language learners. And then we also have a virtual homeschool and a charter school. So we represent 5 schools in our small district and 1,462 students that we're providing education to. Had the opportunity to speak to Betsy DeVos in Tallahassee. And when I asked her, she is pro-choice, and I believe that parents should have the choice in their child's educational opportunity. But I just want equity and equitable rules and funding for all schools, charter schools and public schools. Everybody should have to play by the same rules. If one school has to implement 20 minutes of recess, another school should too. Like you were talking about the study skills class, we actually wrote a grant this year to implement a homeroom for our students in middle and high school, and it's called Teachers as Advisors. And they are working with the students on looking at their schedules and tracking their credits and working with parents. And then in the classroom, teachers have got to be creative in teaching kids how to study because we don't study with notebooks anymore. It's interactive. In my classroom in 4th grade, I had interactive notebooks, lots of technology. The kids wake up in the morning with technology and they go to bed with technology. So we've got to meet the kids where they are. And in the Franklin County School District, I'm proud to say that we have the one-to-one initiative where students are having their Chromebooks. We actually added it as low as kindergarten this year, so all of our students K through 12 will have a Chromebook. So that technology funding that you guys keep putting through for our schools, $500,000, doesn't sound like much to Miami-Dade, but to small counties like Franklin, where students may not have those Chromebooks at home, they have them at school and they're learning how to actively engage in study. So thank you so much for looking out for small school districts. You know, we're tasked with the same job that the larger districts are, just with less resources, both financial and human.
And cross-voting. It is run by the Pew Corporation, and it is a avenue that I believe would be very successful in just continuing to elevate the state of Florida in our elections and how well we serve our voters. The other thing is, which is tied with that, is a public exemption, which would make all that voter registration information exempt from public records requests, and it would be state by state. If something is exempt in Kentucky, it would also be exempt when it flowed down into our system. But those are the two main things that we really want to try to get implemented this session. We appreciate your support on those things.
Good deal.
Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Ms. Rising.
Anything I can do, just give me a call.
Okay, our school board chair, Stacey Kirvin. Stacey, come on down.
I'd like to welcome you guys to Franklin County, Mr. Montford, Mr. Beshears. I'm here not to say a lot, but to reiterate some of the things that Ms. Moses said. As a small district, we are tasked with operating a school, and we have a lot of the same fixed costs that larger districts have. There's something in the FEFP formula to address that, the sparsity funding. Well, we used to get a pretty good chunk of the sparsity funding because of that. We are a particularly sparse district. Our transportation costs are off the chart. Traveling around the state and working with the FFBA, that's an issue for every single district loses money in the state of Florida. But with us, the wealth adjustment kills us. I mean, we lose about $800,000 a year out of our budget because of the wealth adjustment. And if you guys could work together outside of partisan politics, I know 2016, Mr. Beshears put forth a bill that would eliminate the wealth adjustment for districts of less than 2,000. And that would be a big help to us. Like I say, there are many things operating a small district that are different than operating a larger district. And we're sort of on a precipice, we're on a precarious place where if everything doesn't go right, you could be in trouble. And like us, we shift $500,000 of our capital outlay to help offset the cost of hiring and paying all the bills. Gulf County, our neighbor here, they actually don't shift a meal, they levy a full meal for that by referendum, and they only, in return, get like 0.57 meals for their capital outlay. Well, that's something that will last for a little while, but it's sort of like building your lifestyle on credit cards when you have to do that. And so I would just ask that you continue to champion education. I know you've been in education, and work for us and look at the small districts, because we have our particular set of problems that you just don't have in a larger district. And I'm not talking about Dade, I'm not talking about Duval, I'm talking about somebody that's just big enough that they can take advantage of economies of scale, which as a small district we're unable to. But thank you for everything you do, and we're getting better down here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for willingness to serve on the school board.
I like it, I love it.
Tough job.
It's no more important job than educating kids. That's the biggest part of your community. It's the most important part. And you said something a while ago, and it struck me kind of funny because the gentleman mentioned a new class to help kids learn how to study. And you mentioned, well, it would cost $100 million. And that's sort of the way I feel being on the school board. I'm in a box, and we know what needs to be done, but it's always what it's going to cost. I was at a conference, and one of our breakout sessions, we went and looked at other districts or other school systems around the world. And the one that I got tasked with really getting into was Singapore. 50 years ago, 90% of Singapore was illiterate. But one of the leaders of Singapore decided he wanted to make education a priority. And so he took all the smartest people in government, put them in charge of education, paid the teachers like engineers, and guess what? Now they're one of the top performing school districts in the world because that's a priority. And to me, there's no bigger priority than educating the kids in a community because they become your citizens. And that's what makes your county good, or your state good, or your country good.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.
I want to hear the amen out there somewhere. Okay, Mayor. Man, God, hey, come on down, brother. All I'm gonna say is you look good.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm gonna take that in a good way. Before I start down this long list of requests, I want to start by thanking you guys for all the work you have done on behalf of the people of Pensacola. Number one, we want to have an inauguration of the splash pad that you guys have fund, and we want to invite you down to attend that when we set that date, as well as the assistance that you gave us on the putting a new roof over our youth center. The kids of Pensacola really appreciate that, and so do I. But what I have before you this afternoon that I need your assistance on, and that our city administrator and our Lee Matthews and our CRA coordinator, Augusta West, will be working with your staff to address these needs. The city of Apalachicola, we're right at about 9.6 mil in our ad valorem levy. And even if we raised it up to 10 mil, we cannot generate enough money to address all the needs of the city. So therefore, we're reaching out to our partners in the state legislators for help. And we need help to reduce our total amount of trimethylene that's in our drinking water. And that's something that my staff is going to be working with your staff to try to identify funding to do that. At present, we have a leaking water main under Market Street, right down 98, that if it doesn't get immediate attention, and I hate to say this, 98 could collapse. And better part of our downtown will be without water. So we're going to be addressing that again with your people. And also we need help replacing a corroding walkway around our wastewater treatment plant, in addition to upgrades to our sewer system to address the capacity growth in downtown Apalachicola. And of course, we're going to need some planning money to put all this together. But my staff will be contacting Marcia. I hate it. I almost start crying just while I was not leaving. I hate that, but before you leave, my staff will coordinate with you and David to try to solicit your guys' help. I know there are limitations, but you have to ask.
Hey, you're good.
Thank you.
You're good. All right. You're good. You always represent this city very, very well.
Thank you, sir.
Really do. Appreciate you. Okay, Mayor Brundon.
Good evening, and I've got a handout for you. It's similar to the one I gave you earlier this year, but it's updated because there's always things going on at our airport, and I'll be talking about that a little bit. But good evening, Senator Montford and Representative Beshears. Once again, it's a pleasure to see you. I'm Brenda LaPaz, Mayor of Carabel. I'm proud to announce with me this evening our recently re-elected Commissioner Cal Allen, right here, and then newly elected Commissioner Tony Millender, and I'm glad they're both here this evening to represent Carabel with me. And first, please let me thank you both for your support and assistance with the city's request for abolishment of the Carabel Port and Airport Authority. Representative Beshears walked that bill 891 through the House, where it passed on April the 27th. Then in the Senate, the request was supported by Senator Montford and it passed on May the 4th and approved by the governor on June 6, 2017. And now the cloud of confusion regarding what agency manages the Carabel Airport is lifted, and making the process of our annual licensing or request for FDOT and FAA funding much more uncomplicated. So we do appreciate that over in Carabel. But meanwhile, I want to tell you that the city of Carabel continues to move forward with several projects that we just completed this year, including a new 98 crosswalk across Highway 98. It's connecting our Veterans Park and the 4th Street boat ramp. I hope you all saw that when you came through town today. It kind of slows folks down a little bit. But that was a 3-year process with the FDOT to get that approved. Then we continue with our roadway resurfacing projects. Many roads we had in Carabel up until a few years ago hadn't been resurfaced in 30 or 40 years, and we just did one recently, and that with some additional downtown parking. We have a new multimodal path and parking lot in the George Sands Park. That was just finished construction about a month ago. That was a 2-year process. Relocation of our 6,000-gallon AV gas fuel tank and major hangar renovations at the airport. Those were projects years in the works. And then this March 11th, we had a very successful airport fly-in event with over 1,000 visitors and 37 visiting aircraft. And we're about to complete a pervious parking lot for the Marine Street boat ramp. In about 2 weeks that will be completed, and it will hold about 30 trucks with boat trailers. And some of our upcoming projects will be construction of the new city hall, with property is already purchased, and the floor plan and site plan are 90% complete. We'll have a new airport generator will be installed within the next few weeks that will operate the runway lights and fuel system. The need for a backup electrical system at the airport became very apparent during Hurricane Irma threat when different organizations were planning to use the airport as a staging area. Duke Energy would use our airport for the east side of Franklin County to bring in their equipment and work crews. Following that, there'll be a construction of the new airport hangar that will begin towards the year's end. In 2018, construction will begin on a $1,025,000 commercial revitalization project in the commercial district of Carabel, and that will include stormwater management, curb and gutter, roadway resurfacing, and sidewalks funded by CDBG and CRA leveraging. Also in 2018 will be total renovation of the Marine Street Pavilion and the old Coast Guard dock funded by a Land and Water Conservation Grant and CRA leveraging. And then in mid-2018, work will begin on an FDOT SCOP-funded project providing much-needed drainage improvements and roadway resurfacing of 4 city streets. And then later in 2018, an airport perimeter fence for security and wildlife management will be installed, and that's funded by FDOT District 3. Fully funded right now, we just had our kickoff meeting last week with the Northwest Florida Water Management District as Phase 1 of the Lighthouse Estates Septic to Sewer Project. This will remove 53 existing septic tanks and is estimated to result in a total nitrogen load reduction of 986 pounds per year from the Apalachicola Bay. Dirt will turn on this project as soon as the city is able to secure a funding source for extension of central water lines in that same location. Water supply is a critical part of the success of this project as it serves as a companion project for construction of central sewer. We've reached out for legislative and Restore Act funding, and now we'll reach out for Gulf Coast Triumph funding when those applications become available. Carabel also has other important projects coming up, but we'll talk about those next time we see you next year. I tell you all these things as a reminder that the city continues picking itself up by the bootstraps and working towards a positive future and economic diversification. As I announced to you, we were going to do that 3 years ago, and we're working every waking hour to pick Carabel up. But to assist us, I've got a few things here. And I would like for you all to, when you hear about it, to take a look at the new FDOT airport zoning guidelines, which had a deadline for all of managers of airports to meet that July 1st of this year. to my knowledge at this point, only the Sarasota Airport is in compliance with these new guidelines, zoning guidelines. It's a very complicated issue. It's not easily understood by laymen or even planning and zoning specialists. There's been a webinar assistance through the Florida League of Cities. The FDOT aviation side has put on a webinar. I watched that webinar and I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. With the city administrator, neither one of us could put heads or tails together with it. Right now, the Appalachia Regional Planning Council is working to find a way to assist counties and communities in our district with airports to bring this zoning issue into compliance, to help airports bring this into compliance, because the FDOT could put a moratorium on any more building or development around airports. They could, if they wanted to do, things like along those lines, they could. But right now, none of the airports are in compliance because they just don't understand how to do it. As I mentioned at the roundtable discussion in Blountstown, where Senator Montford was with Senator Latvala, our community and all the coastal communities continue to need affordable housing to help draw and keep the workforce in our rural areas. We need affordable housing for folks such as educators, healthcare workers, and law enforcement personnel, that income level. And from the state level, we need more assistance with recruiting new businesses. And Carabel has a 61,000 square foot manufacturing building that's been underutilized and basically unutilized since it was built in 2008. And the city is looking at different ways that this building could somehow be connected by a taxiway to the airport in the future, which would help enhance that facility's commercial value for job creation. And then I would like to echo Commissioner Sanders' request to straighten Highway 98 at the Island View area. That is just east of the City of Carabel city limits boundary, but there are a sufficient amount of accidents and deaths there. I know from chairing the Franklin County Community Traffic Safety Team, the DOT is aware of the high accident rate in that area, all of those curbs there. And they actually have on their funding for a proposal for 17-18 rumble striping to go from the fork at the Gulf Avenue spur 30, right there where the Forestry Service used to be, on out to Lake Morality Road, to put rumble striping on each side of the road. And they can go ahead and do that. It's okay with me, but I would like to see it straightened too. So, and I'm sure a lot of folks would. And finally, as you both know, in the 2017-18 state budget did not include funding for the FERDAP program, which the Senate back in that session approved, proposed to fund FERDAP for requests of $50,000 or less. And the House picked a few small and large projects, but it ended up there was nothing, no FERDAP funded at all. And during that time, Carabel rated number 16 for FERDAP small development projects on the applicant priority list. And our $50,000 request was for much needed improvements to the Tilly Miller Park in the heart of Carabel. So during this upcoming session, I would ask you all to please give strong consideration for FERDAP funding, at least to the very small rural communities, and allow them the opportunity of maintaining their recreational facilities. And so I'll just close and say by now, all of you know who we are in Carabel, and that we're working diligently to help ourselves, but from time to time, our city does need assistance from the state legislative level. So please continue to keep the city of Carabel in mind. And I thank you for your time and appreciation. And Ms. Marcia, I thank you for all of your time and guidance over these past few years. And of course, Ms. Vicki and Chris, I'll get to know you as time goes by. But thank you both.
Mayor, thank you. We appreciate it. And all the work that you do, you've got a thriving little community there.
All right, thank you. And we appreciate you attending the highway dedication today, both.
It was our pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, that completes everybody. We appreciate y'all being here. We're going to ask Representative Beshears to say a few closing remarks.
Thank you, Senator. Again, thanks for everybody being out on a school night. I'll be brief here. We've got another delegation meeting. I just want to touch on a couple things on my notes real fast. You know, the Department of Health does a great job here in Franklin and Gulf County. Just, you know, with dollars being tight, we got to make sure we're looking at everything that we're doing right now and make sure we're being getting the most bang for our buck in the most cost-efficient way. So I'd just challenge you in the future going forward on some of those programs. Let's make sure we're doing the best. Not that you're doing a good job, you're not doing a good job now. It's just everything is under the magnifying glass coming up. And I want you to be aware of that. We can't afford to lose anything for these small rural counties. It's too important. Miss Allen, you know, you keep fighting on those grants. I told you, as long as you keep getting those rankings up, it's good. And those little things, they help for our little small counties. That's one of those things we fight for. It just slides under the radar. People don't pay attention. They don't think $50,000 goes a long way where we live, and we argue it helps a bunch. And Joe Taylor, Joe, I love hearing your success stories. I was looking back at my notes for the last few years. You've done them, so it's so awesome. Keep it up. Traci and Stacy, I will say this, you know, on the sparsity funding, we tackled that a couple of years ago. Appreciate y'all doing what you're doing. We're going to tackle it again. Just trying to figure out the right way to do it. I know Senator Montford was very helpful in that. And his side, we couldn't get it done in the Senate. It breezed through the House. But we just got to find out a different way to skin that cat, how we can do that. And so we'll figure that out again, how we can do it. But just again, it's every dollar counts. And when you lose a couple $100,000 in a school system like this, it's a big deal. We know $800,000 is cool. That's the moon to me. So anyway, appreciate y'all serving and doing all you can. Heather, I had to say one thing for Heather. I think it's so cool what she's done. You know, being able to do your registration online. If we don't find a way to relate to these millennials, they don't care. They're not going to vote. You have to make everything so accessible, so fast, and so easy. Because if it doesn't exist here in their world, it doesn't exist. Mayor, we're going to get with you on that, on your stuff too. You know, thanks for doing what you're doing. I think we'll bring up one other point real fast. You know, we're going to continue to work with the city and y'all where we are on trying to help with your debt and where you are on the wastewater station. We're trying to work with you and figure that out, what's best for the city. But there's also, you understand, and I know you do, there has to be accountability there too. You know, you got a debt to pay, not you personally, but the city. And so we got to figure out how we can do that. So again, it's thinking outside of the box, doing what we can, trying to find the best way to alleviate that.
We have a meeting scheduled with your staff.
Good. Yep. I think, and Marcia's still here. You know, we talked to Brent Thurman here the other day. He, Senator Montford and I were over in Montford County, and it seems like we're on a 3-year cycle with the clerks. You guys, they strangle you down for 3 years till you're about to die on the vine, literally, then they save you. And so we've gone through 2 different funding changes, it seems like, in 6 years. So, you know, we got to come up with a different program, that's for sure. It's not an apples to apples comparison. The rural county clerks, what you do versus the larger counties and the funds they collect. We realize, man, you guys are so efficient, and we try and sing that song all the time up there, but we do have to find a different funding mechanism if we can for the rural counties just to get some real relief for you guys. I think the last thing, Mayor LaPaz, I appreciate you being there today. You did a great job out there, you really did. I know you said you were nervous, but that was a pretty cool thing out there. For those of y'all that don't know, they had a dedication over there for a guy from Kirvin named Cliff Millender who died in Vietnam, so it was pretty neat. Y'all do have a lot of stuff going on in Kirvin, and I tell you, it seems like every year we have something in the budget we've been working on for Kirvin, so don't think we're forgetting about you. Y'all very much had a lot of attention. We're going to continue to help all we can. The last thing I would bring up is the Triumph funding, which is what Commissioner Sanders talked about briefly. We're very cognizant of that. We're not going to let the state negotiate against what's already due. You know, and I'll tell you, we pay attention to that all the time. I don't think there's a problem with things like transportation, them trying to negotiate. What I do see them trying to get us to negotiate against is the special projects that our counties can't always afford. Maybe they won't get those, so let's say use your Triumph money for that. You know, but that's a bunch of money. It's 5% for the first 3 years, which is $15 million that has to be spent in Franklin County. And I'll say that again, that's $15 million on the first round, and then it goes to 4%. Collectively, it's over $60 million that has to be spent here. So that's a lot of money. It's a great opportunity for the county to do a lot of good. And it truly is in the county's hands. It's in the people's hands. It's not in ours. y'all have to figure out what's best for the county, what works, and you have to come together collectively, present that to the board, and then it'll get spent here. So other than that, I'm glad to see everybody. We got a lot of work to do, Senator, is what I heard today.
Believe we do.
So it's good to see y'all.
Thank y'all for coming. Usually we like to hang around and talk, but we've got to be over Gulf County in 30 minutes, and we don't want either sheriff or county. All right. So again, thank y'all for coming. We appreciate you. We enjoy coming down here. We look forward to it, and it's always a pleasure to come and pick your brain a little bit and listen to what your suggestions are and your success stories. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
There's a what? You really? Yeah.